Hi there, Jeff Watts here from Watts Atelier of the Arts, and today I will be showing you how to do a little master study from one of my favorite illustrators, Howard Pyle. He was a teacher of many different great illustrators, and so if you're not aware of him, you should check him out. But if you'd like to see me actually do a rendition of it, walking through a small comp of one of his paintings, then this video is for you. Like, this is a color class. This is a patina class. This is all these different things wrapped up into master studies. Enjoy, and I'll see you at the end. Cheers. So there's some purple in here, there's some blues. Again, they're not chromatically intense colors, they're very rich color, very deep, sultry, beautiful harmonies. And those are my favorite. I don't like bright garish color. I'm not a big fan. There's a lot of grays in this painting. You might say, oh, look how colorful that painting is, but it's predominantly gray. The color is reflected or is supported by those grays, and thus makes it look more way more colorful than it really actually is. The grays are the glue that keep your color together. Just remember that. The grays are the glue that keeps your color together. It's a wonderful little thing to remember. Too much color doesn't mean anything. Gotta have the grays. Gotta have the grays in there. On the ocean, there's a lot of greens. There's a lot of like sappy greens. There's a lot of like in the foam. See, that's that. Like if you go sea foam green is a color. It's if you go to the Frazies, or you go to Home Depot for some paint, you'll see sea foam green. So there's a lot of green in the ocean. You can see little hints of it in the foreground of this painting. They're kind of really subtle, but it's like a dingy, almost sappy green color that's sprinkled in there in that primordial soup, which we all probably creeped out of billions of years ago. So I just kind of sprinkle a little bit of that in, and I'm just, again, setting it up patiently. This is one of the tougher ones I picked. One of the harder ones to do fast. I mean, they're all kind of challenging, actually. Those Soroyas and that Waterhouse is probably going to make me, So again, just looking for some of those crests and some of those, the way the waves are kind of sculpted, literally. He uses sculptural shapes, and they're really beautiful, to get that feeling of the waves like cresting and moving in and out of each other. And easier said than done. I was like, oh yeah, you just kind of throw some random stuff in there, and it's like, it looks like you just threw some random stuff in there. It doesn't have the architecture or the structure of a wave. And so we have to adhere or be respectful of the fact that we're painting something that has an anatomy to it, the anatomy of a wave, the anatomy of a cresting, just a crest on the ocean. It seems so like, oh, it's just is what it is. It's like, well, try painting the damn thing, and you'll see just that it's not that easy. You actually have to determine like the edges around it, the shapes that are comprised by it. Nothing can be left as just, oh yeah, just kind of throw it in there and hope for the best. It doesn't work well. It'll look just like that. So we have to really look at what's cresting, how it's moving. And the anatomy of waves are quite complex and fun. Seascapes are awesome. They're one of the hardest landscapes to paint well. On the online program, I painted a Frederick Waugh, who's probably one of my favorite seascape painters of all time. And man, that was a challenging one. I'm sure a lot of people were cussing at me under their breath as they were doing that one. But he's a phenomenal seascape painter. If you don't know his work, Frederick Waugh, Waugh, Frederick. Guy was a madman when it came to painting seascapes. Okay, so again, these waves in the foreground won't look totally together until we get the darker waves behind it, we get the darker ship in, and then we can reassess and look at all the stuff we did and see what needs to be done to take it even a little bit further. So it's a cumulative process. All painting is, and things look weird while other things are waiting to be done. So you put them in as best you can, and then you kind of leave them and let them sit and lay for a bit, and then you go back and reassess and look at them and say, okay, how does that still hold up now that I've got the background in? Does that still hold up now that I've got this particular piece in? And that's kind of the best way to work your way through a painting, is to try to, because you can't bring it up like, you can't just snap your fingers and have the whole thing laid in. So you wish you could, because there's a lot of phases when the thing looks kind of crappy. You're just like, oh man, really? And you just have to stomach it, knowing that, oh, that's that phase that I'm in, where I haven't covered it completely, and it looks discordant. It looks out of place. It looks not so great, and not have that freak you out to the point where you either quit the painting or you scrub it or you do something rash. You just, okay, that's it. Let's just let that sit for a minute and let's move on. But it takes an awful lot of painting before you can really remind yourself of that sometimes and say, hey, it's just part of the process. It'll get better. Okay, now I'm going to go back into this other part that I can't really. I mean, I know it's cresting big. It's big waves out there. I mean, these guys are going up and down 20-foot, swells or something. It's gnarly. Thus, contributing to the drama of the narrative, and that's what you want with a good narrative, like a good adventure narrative. Is you want, these guys are just, literally being thrust up and down 20-foot swells while they're trying to breach a burning galleon, that they just shot full of cannonballs and whatever, and now they're trying to breach it and take it over or whatever. So these guys, it's a wild deal, man. But if you just put these guys out in some benign little barely moving surf and it was just this really pleasant day, flat, nothing going on, that would be bore you to death. You'd want to just yawn and go to bed, And so what we're doing here is we're creating drama, and we're creating drama through angles, through thrusts of angles that are going different directions, and that's giving us the drama and the mystery and the mystique and the fun of this image. And that's what you got to remind yourself, is that you're an entertainer. You're entertaining the viewer with a dynamic composition that's telling a story in a way that's the best possible way that you can possibly think to tell it. Now, are you always going to hit that? No. As a matter of fact, most of the time you're not. But we've got to strive. We're being hired for. That's what our goal is to bring something to the table that's magnificent. Like Frazetta did, time and time again. Iconic images, really fun. It was Conan, but it was Conan the way you envisioned him in your dreams. It wasn't a real guy out. It was just like bigger than life, And that's the beauty of the imagination, the beauty of an artist's ability to bring that to life is what creates Star Wars. It's what creates World of Warcraft. It's what creates anything that you dig on that's cool. It's the narrative. It's the way it's put together, the way the story's told, the way the creatures look, the way the characters look. That's what brings in the sales. That's what brings in the people wanting to play the game, people wanting to buy the game, people wanting to do whatever, go see the movie, If it's like, Avengers and it's a bunch of dumpy, crappy looking character designs of a bunch of, I don't know, dorky looking superheroes, you're probably not going to be pulling in millions and billions of dollars on that franchise, It's because it's cool, and kids love it because it's like a fantasy life come to reality, So, that's what they pay you for. Okay, It's got the second level of cresting big surf swells back there going in. The moon is like this really beautiful, like pink color. So I'm going to kind of mix that up, and I'm going to use this red with a little bit of orange put in it and a lot of white. And I'm going to mix up this like beautiful, a little bit more yellow, maybe yellow and orange in it. And let's just see if we can get that little guy in there. That's way darker than it is, isn't it? I got to go more purple around it first. Yeah, dialing in your color harmonies, man, it's hard. It is not easy. So just keep that in mind. It's kind of a neat looking actual, I like it, but it's not the right. So we need to lighten it up a lot. So I'll just dump straight white in there and mush it around into that moon. And now we're starting to get more the illusion of what it is. And don't make it like a perfect sphere. Now let it kind of be a little irregular. Let it have some little, soften some of these edges back here. Okay. Now we got that in. Now these guys are standing out like a sore thumb in there, and they're just a gaggle of guys hunched over, you know, as they're riding these crested waves, and they've got like their striped head bandanas on, and they've got, you know, they're just a seedy bunch of motley crew of pirates getting ready to pillage and pilfer. So these guys are, you know, we don't have a lot that we can show with because they're, you know, they're tiny, but just watch how I indicate them. Take note of how he's indicated them. I'm not sure the size of this painting. It's probably not very big. It's probably 16 by 20, 18 by 24 or something. I don't know what. I'd have to look back at the book and see if it says. Wasn't top on my priority list of things to worry about, but it's sometimes fun to know, like, hey, how big were those guys probably? Oh, they're the size of a pinky, or they're, you know, the size of a nickel or something. But just have fun. Most importantly, always have fun, because what's the point if you're miserable? If you're miserable, maybe look for a different hobby. Look for something else to do. And maybe it's not art, at least at a high level or whatever. Maybe it's just like, you know, just that's way too intense for me. I hope that's not the case. But if it is, it's okay. There's so many wonderful things I'd love to learn how to do in my lifetime, but I know that most of them are going to require this kind of intensity to do well. And I would rather now just pick my battles because I don't like doing things of a mediocre nature, just me personally. So if I can't do it really well, probably not going to do it. I'll just appreciate it from a distance. And it took me a long time to get to that point where I was not feeling like I want, you know, trying to tackle every thing that fascinated me, but just kind of admire it, look at it. After you've been through a lot of these, you realize, hey, that's, you know, learning piano is going to be about the same amount of time as it would take to get good at painting. Do I have that time? Do I want to spend that time, or would I rather spend it with my wife, or what would I rather do? You know, get better at painting the thing that I actually make my money at? Or would I rather, so you start to kind of, get a little smarter about, again, storming the castle on every freaking front and just say, I don't have to storm that castle. I'll let so-and-so and I'll admire them doing it, but I don't need to go do that. At least it took me half my life to get to that point where I don't feel so much now like I have to go chase down every rainbow. And I can just be okay, just say, oh, I got really good at painting. That was not easy. And I like it. I love it. There's times if you catch me on a bad day when I curse the universe for even having to ever picked it. But yeah, I think that's every artist, you just kind of go, why would I possibly put myself through that? That is ridiculous. But, humans are notorious for that, Oh, it's the biggest mountain in the world. I think I'll go climb it. For what reason? Because it's there, I don't know. It's just kind of inbred in us as species or something, to keep pushing further into aspects of the unknown or things that we want to accomplish just for the hell, just for sure for the hell of it, Okay, I'm going to kind of push that front of that galleon out that back there, and some billowy smoke down there. And again, I'm going to follow it, but not verbatim, meaning not exact, because exact is very difficult and takes lots of time. We've learned that in other disciplines, like any gesture class. So what do? You cut your losses and you go for the essence, which is what it's trying to teach you to do anyway. It's trying to teach you to paint essentials, not every little greeble or whatever. And I'm searching quickly, and I mix really quickly because I've mixed for a long time, and I'm searching for puddles that I can build off of. I'm searching for ways of not having to reinvent another, go back and remix something, but just use something that's already there. So you see me move very quickly, very efficiently. Why? Because I've painted a gazillion paintings, and but I wasn't always that quick. There was a time when I was kind of slow, and I had to learn the process, and that's why I want to give you more time than I use. So again, I do this in an hour and a half. You do it in 3 hours. If it takes that long, or 2. But try to be comfortable, but don't set yourself up for doing a 62-hour rendering of this painting. Unless at some point you want to use it as a master study and like a master class with myself or with Ben or something, and you want to actually do an 18 by 24 finish of this painting, then I would say, okay, yeah, that's going to probably want to spend about 100 hours on that, or 40, 50 hours on that to get that to come up to that level, or 20, whatever. It could be. I'm just throwing out, random examples of time, but you get what you understand what I'm getting at. Now, I'm not going to, make a federal case out of these window mullions on the back of this thing. I mean, no one's going to be able to call me on it, and it's a comp. So I just throw it in. It looks like I killed myself, and everybody goes, "Oh, look at that. That looks really cool. Look at how detailed. Oh, there's nothing even there. Wait a minute. He just fooled us." Yes, I did. Of course, that's my job. Your job is to really smoke and mirror people into believing that they're seeing something magnificent when there's really not much there. Now, that's a certain style of painting. There are styles of painting that really pride themselves on everything being figured out, and those are really hardcore finishes, and they usually take a gazillion hours to do because there is no indication. It's all got to be figured out, and that takes a lot of time, a lot of planning, a lot of photo reference, a lot of shooting, a lot of everything. So indication is the illusion of reality through smoke and mirrors, literally through the indication of something so that it looks like something when really there's not much there. That's an art, and that's the art that a lot of us will have to employ simply because we won't have enough time to spend 62,000 hours on an illustration. We would go broke and we would never make a living, or the client would kill us because we missed our deadline 42 times. So ultimately you end up having to indicate a lot because of necessity. And, again, I don't make the rules. I'm just sharing what I know about them. from years of participating in certain arenas where that's kind of how it went. And I'm fast, so if I'm having a hard time with it, I imagine most people would be also, with the amount of, that has to be done in such a short amount of time. It's one reason why I wasn't really a great illustrator and didn't really want to do it a lot, was because it didn't give me an opportunity to be a craftsman. It just gave me an opportunity to get just enough done to get paid, but never enough done to where I was extremely proud of it. And that, I don't know, I didn't spend my whole life training to do that. So I decided more fine art because I wanted to be rewarded for those more intense efforts. And that was an arena that you were more rewarded for going that extra mile with your work. That was actually rewarded by higher pay, all that kind of good stuff. So that's kind of why I kind of went towards that in my own career. And everybody has to cross that bridge when they get there and figure out what kind of painter or what kind of artist they want to be. What kind of painter are you gonna try to be? And that can take a long time to figure out. So if you're in the process of trying to figure that out, be patient with yourself, because it takes sometimes decades to figure out what it is, where it is you want to place yourself. And you might have to try 5 or 6 different careers while you're figuring it out. You work in gaming for a couple of years and decide, oh, the pace is just ludicrous. It was okay when I was 22 or 30 or 25, but I don't want to do it when I'm 52. Just too much energy. I don't really, just doesn't resonate as much with me as it did back then. So you move over into some other industry, and you find that to be a little bit more conducive to your temperament or wherever you are at that stage in your life. And as you do that, that's normal for a painter to go through many, many different iterations of careers. It's not as common for some other professionals, but in the arts, you really evolve constantly into a different person. So the person you were when you were 22 is not the person you are when you're 52. Different priorities, different interests, different ability to even actually handle the pressure of certain things, as you get older. You just don't want to stay up all night working on all-nighters. You don't want to do things, you value your family more. You want to spend more time with them. You want to be at home with your wife more. You don't really want to be at work for 14 hours or something a day. Okay, when you were single and 20, but now you're 42 with 3 kids, and so things change. And you change with it or you don't or whatever, but it's kind of how it works. So a lot of you, when I'm talking to you, it's more like, hey, think about this. How about this? Well, and it's not like I'm telling you, hey, this is how it is, kid. It's just, this is kind of what my experience was with it. This is what some of my friends' experiences kind of were with it. I think that's kind of the way it goes, but maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think so. And then you just kind of throw it out there and let them experience it for themselves, okay, people used to always, when they were in school with me, they'd always say, oh, when am I ever going to get ready to work? And I go, you'll know. I mean, shit, when people start asking you to do jobs for them and pay you for it, you'll start to know that you're getting pretty damn good, because people are starting to ask you, hey, do you do freelance? What do you do with your work? Where do you sell it? Do you sell work? I'd love to buy one of your pieces, I love your stuff, I mean, it's that kind of thing. And you start going, oh, okay, people are starting to ask me this stuff, and it's a good sign. That you're kind of getting ready to start getting out there. But in the meantime, as we learn how to learn what to learn how all this stuff functions and works, then that's where we're at, most of us. So let's just embrace that aspect of it. Let's just embrace and enjoy that part of where we're at, and not try to get past it so quickly, but just say, that's where I'm at. I'm in my study phase where I do lots of master studies. I won't always be able to do that. And I get that. So I think I'm going to just enjoy that for a while and really drink it in and have some fun with it. Some of my most enjoyable times were in school. I mean, that was when I felt the most impactful with myself. I just wanted to paint something good for the wall. I just wanted to do something that I would be proud of, my teacher would be proud of. I just wanted to do a good freaking figure, for God's sakes. I wasn't trying to take over the planet. I wasn't trying to storm the castle. I wasn't trying to do any of that. I was just trying to be good, trying to get good, trying to feel what it was like to be good. So it was really a wonderful period. Very simple in some ways, very almost simpletonish in its charm of what was expected out of you and what you were expecting out of yourself and what you wanted to try to accomplish. And that, I don't know, there's something about that. That I've always wanted to try to preserve a little bit of that in my life, was that feeling of that I just want to do a good job, because it's what I kind of want to do. I just want to do a nice painting. I just want to do a nice landscape. I don't know. And it's okay. I guess I became a professional. I just realized that now I have to make a good painting. Now I have to do this and that. And then it became less fun and more work, where it was like, oh shit, I can't just screw around and make that a cool looking thing. It has to be cool and it has to sell. Damn. It was just a lot of pressure, and different kind of pressure that I wasn't totally fond of and used to, but that's again part of becoming a professional. Now, these back wave cresting back here, let's make sure that they're kind of soft so that they push back. I don't want them like blurry soft, but I want them softer. And then I noticed that, like, again, some of this, like the darks here, need to be harmonized a little bit with some water washes. So I just glaze over them. I just take a little glaze of water and run right over them. I don't push hard. I just push enough to activate the paint, and then I run right over the top of them. Now, if the water's just dripping off my brush, it's going to drip down the painting. It's going to cause all kinds of problems. So we want just the amount of water ratio to glaze. Like right now, it's just a damp brush. It's not saturated, super saturated, but it's enough to activate the paint. Now, as I go over it, I notice that right in there, the paint's kind of a stain. It's going back to a stain. Why? Because it was already put on kind of thin, and now I'm taking some of it off by reactivating it through the blending process. And that's telling me that my paint application originally was a little too thin, because now there's not enough there. So when I go to blend it, it goes into a stain. And when you have stains, we're going to quickly realize that stains don't reactivate well in gouache. You need enough paint on the surface to get them to reactivate. So what do you have to do? Well, you might have to go repaint that section again to get enough paint on there, and then go back and re-soften again. Well, that's 10 or 15 minutes of work. Or 5 or 10, that could have been prevented by just having put the right application of paint on in the first place. But then again, you wouldn't know that until you do it wrong. And then you go, that doesn't work. Yeah, okay, well, note to self, put thicker paint on next time. Not then next time you put it on too thick. And now you'll be in trouble that way. And you'll say, well, that was freaking frustrating. Yeah, that's called painting. It's learning through trial and error. The key is to try to minimize your trial by working with good techniques and good methods, so that you minimize that need to do that on your own, because it takes a lot of freaking time, and it's frustrating and maddening. And it's hard enough already, for God's sakes. So that's what we're trying to accomplish, is efficiency. I'm trying to teach you to be efficient so that you don't have to constantly be, throwing up Hail Marys and hoping something cool happens, Okay, so look at that. Now I'm going back over the top of the paint. Now, a lot of times, if you take portrait painting with us in gouache, there's a very specific method for it, and it's very different than this. Okay, so if you do take it with me, or you take it with, you're taking that along with Ben this time, you're going to see there's a fundamental difference on how we approach painting portrait versus painting landscape. Tiling, which is a wonderful way to paint, is taught mostly in the portrait section of gouache. Why? Because it's very specific as to why we do that. We are working on shapes. In this, we have too many things to tile. And there are tiles in here. There's shapes that are happening everywhere. But that's not the full impetus for how I approach it. It's different. So you'll witness it as you start to learn with us. Oh, okay. Tiling is shape recognition painting, and everything is really shape, but it's really easy to really grasp onto it in the situation of portraiture. Now, I just was running a dilemma there. I was looking for something. What was I looking for? Well, I need to get some rigging on there, and I don't have anything, a straight edge to rig off of. So what I'm going to do is use another brush as my straight edge. It's easier to do with a ruler with a metal piece on it, which I don't have. But if you taken my dad's class, you know what I'm talking about. But um, I don't need this rigging to be like perfect. I just need it to. I'm just kissing it, man. That's where you gotta have some good dexterity. I'm telling you. Where do you get that dexterity? Inking. You get it through ballpoint pen sketching. You get it through um, graphite drawings, long graphite drawings like the one I'm teaching. You get it through those kind of techniques, that gives you extra dexterity. And that dexterity is then used all the time. It's used in your oil paintings. It's used in your gouache comps. It's used in everything. So as we get better and better, we realize, hey, all these disciplines do a funny thing. They help each other. They develop. They're used in other things. Oh, that's kind of a novel idea that would help me with that. And that's what that's the goal, is that everything you learn improves everything else. And you start to always be improving all areas, because every area improves every other area. So your landscape painting improves your portrait painting. Your portrait painting gives you a different perspective on design, which you carry into your landscape, so on and so forth. And that way we're always, all the work we're doing is never wasted. It's always making us better. It's always helping us move forward in our design, in how we work. And certain things can only be learned certain ways, and you won't know it until you actually learn it and you go, oh, damn, I can't believe how helpful it was doing all those years of quick sketch when I went to paint, gestural landscapes or looser landscapes. It ended up being half of the reason I can do that. And you didn't even know that when you were actually doing it. You had no idea that's what one of the things you were going to get from it until later. And there's so many things in art that work that way, where it's like, that's why when someone says, well, why, after you've learned to trust your teachers, you don't question them all the time anymore. You just know, oh, there's a reason for doing that. I'm going to trust that person's always had my back. Okay, I'm just going to do it because I know there's some reason why he's having me do that. Even though I don't know why the fong I'm doing it right now, but I trust that there's going to something cool is going to come out of that. And sure enough, if you're with a good person, a good teacher, it will. And you'll learn through time to trust that person's judgments and what they're getting you to try to do and how they're getting you to try to do it. In the beginning, there's always kind of a power struggle, it seems like, where the students are constantly questioning the teacher. I think it's just inquisitive, and it's just a way human's nature is you always kind of, because there are so many people that teach poorly, that take advantage of people, that do things not well and give teaching a bad name, or give art teaching a bad name, or whatever. And so you always have to bust through that freaking that part of the person before you can get to them trusting you. And the only way you can get them to trust you is to do it right in front of them, like this, like constantly be showing them, hey, I know what I'm talking about. I know what I'm talking about. Watch, I'm going to show you I know what I'm talking about. And I'm going to do that time and time again. Every time I come up to paint, I'm going to show you I know what I'm talking about. And that way, after you've seen me do that 650 times, you'll believe me. And you won't be questioning me every 2 seconds about, why I'm having you do this, or why this is the way it is, or why this works this way. And that's kind of a rite of passage for the student and for the teacher, kind of. So the teacher has to lead by example, and the student has to follow. And if the student is unwilling to follow, then you have a bad student or a bad teacher, right? That hasn't really instilled in them why they should follow them. And so then it becomes a power struggle, and then it's bad news. But anyway, so as we talk about all this stuff, I like to talk about what's on my mind, a lot of times, and what I'm thinking about, what I'm experiencing, because that's just, we're humans, I'm not a robot. I'm just a guy that's good at painting, good at teaching, done it for a long time, and has a lot on his mind. So when I teach, I talk about things. Why? Because they're probably going to be the things you're thinking about, I'd imagine, to some degree, or you will at some point. And that way you can you remember back 10 years from now, oh, yeah, I remember when Jeff was talking about that in that class I took with him so long ago. I can barely remember the class. I didn't know what it was. But yeah, I remember him talking about that. Oh, now I'm experiencing it firsthand as I'm teaching. And wow, he's totally right. That was the way. Oh, man, that's crazy. So now I'm softening around the boat a little bit, right? Just giving it a little bit of softening. We're really close on this one. I'm almost done. So just a couple more minutes, you guys, and you're free to try it yourself and really have fun with it. This is a good one. This is a really meaty, fun little painting to play around with. It'll look a lot better when I pull the tape off of it, I'll tell you that. Now this water down here, I'm gonna water glaze some of the edges on it, because all these edges are way too obtrusive, meaning they're too sharp, and I need them to bleed together a little bit. I do need some sharp edges, don't get me wrong, but I want to make it look kind of like, you know, a little more organic. And when it's too chiseled out like that, it kind of starts looking, I don't know, kind of fake. So I'm just going around, and I'm doing it really fast because my hand's really responsive. And then I might just go against it and just glaze down that corner there like that. I like this sharp edge there. It's not too bad. Soften that one up a bit so it rolls on the other side. And now I'm inherently going to overblend when I do this because I'm moving so quickly. At which time I have to go back and inject in usually some more crisp edges, but less so than before. So each time I get more discreet with the way I'm handling my edges. And that makes it look more advanced, more finished, more polished. I don't know what, you know, all kinds of terms that we could use. But you're dialing in your edges, right? And it takes a dialing in, right? Which means, you know, fix it, mess it up, fix it, mess it up, tear it down, build it back up again, tear it down. Each time getting a little bit more careful with the tear down, a little bit more conscientious of the shapes because you don't want to be heavy-handed. You can be pretty heavy-handed in the beginning because you know those aren't your finished shapes. Those are just the beginning, and now you're going to have to do it 2 or 3 more times. So you don't want to get too anal in the beginning because you're going to blow it up anyway when you start to soften it out. So, but you want to be careful enough to where it doesn't look like you just threw it together and didn't care. So there's a fine line, and that line is the one we skirt along all the time. Now I'm going to go a little bit lighter with dry brushy with a little bit of a billowiness here on some of these clouds, or not clouds, but they're the same as clouds. It's smoke, but it's pretty much the same way you end up trying to. Just a little bit of extra kick, and then I'll blend a little bit at the bottom, leave the top a little bit dry brushy. And I think, for all practical purposes, we are almost done with this because I just don't want to spend much more than an hour and 10, hour and 15 minutes on it. I think we're about an hour right now. And there's all kinds of cool little things that could be done with it, but I think we got it. We pretty much got it more or less where I want it. This guy's hat's a little too red, so I'm just gonna borrow a little bit of blue and put it over the top of it to kill it, to knock it down a little bit. And this little icon on the back of the boat's probably a little too rich too, so knock that down a little bit with a water glaze. What happens when I water glaze, it just pulls a bunch of the paint over it and grays it down. And that's nice. We just want to keep it. That's when you're dialing everything in. You're kind of getting it all. Okay, so there's our Howard Pyle. And let me just, well, let's see if we pull the tape off, see how it looks. Be careful. So I'm using nonstick blue tape, and I like to recycle it if possible. I like to use it again on another one, so I'll just put it up here. And when you pull it off, pull it away from the painting, because otherwise you'll tear into the painting if it does tear. So just pull it away very carefully, like that. And when you cinch it down, when you first start painting, make sure you cinch down right here with your knuckle, or not your knuckle, but your fingernail, because you want the paint to not slip underneath that that paint and get it all bleeding out. You know, I just like everything. Again, this is what my dad taught me from his art center days, with professionalism. Make everything look clean and professional. Why? Because it's going to be required of you. I mean, you can't, just try to be professional. Always. I really value that with my father. He really, really grilled that into me. And I'm so thankful. Okay, so there it is. It looks so much better when you pull that edge off and it gets nice and clean. And then I can put a little dark rim around it, like with a ruler, of like either a pencil or with a little Sharpie, and just really get it nice and black, little frame around it, and just I think it looks sweet. I used to paint little frames around them, which is kind of fun, just as a kind of a little way to see what it looked like when it had a frame on it. But anyway, thank you again for joining me for that Howard Pyle. All right, you guys, if you like what you've been seeing on our channel and you like the content that we've been doing, please
like and subscribe. You know the routine. It helps us a lot just to be inspired to want to continue doing this stuff with your guys' support. So we love you guys. It's great having you guys on, watching what we do. We're very passionate about it. We have our online program. We have our brick and mortar. If you guys want to, click below in the description box, you can go link over to our website and check out what we've got going on. All right. Thanks a bunch, and hopefully see you in some more videos. And if you do like this stuff, please share it with somebody, another aspiring artist. I think it would, be really helpful for them. Okay. Cheers. Thanks a bunch.